and what they recently did toward both Zegler and the Disney company for their Snow White film. It turns out that both Trey Parker and Matt Stone are already preparing for the DEI special.
They say comedy is tragedy plus time. But what happens when the joke lands before the wounds heal? When South Park's animated assassins take aim at Hollywood's rising stars, the line between satire and defamation blurs faster than you can say $100 million lawsuit. In the high-stakes arena where entertainment meets legal warfare, a battle is brewing that could redefine the boundaries of comedy forever.
One major development going on now involves more to do with Rachel Zegler and her attitude towards South Park Studios and Paramount after learning about what they are planning for their upcoming special called the DEI Special.
From the moment Rachel Zegler slapped Trey Parker and Matt Stone with a jaw-dropping 9-figure defamation lawsuit, Hollywood knew this wasn't just another celebrity feud. This was a cultural collision course built for modern-day headlines. On one side stands a young star still nursing the bruises from Disney's troubled Snow White reboot. On the other, two fearless comedy kings who've made a career out of dragging pop culture through the mud, unapologetically, for decades. What started as just another wild South Park episode suddenly erupted into a high-stakes legal showdown no one saw coming. This wasn't just about jokes anymore. This was war between a rising celebrity's reputation and the no-limits attitude of a show that's roasted everyone from politicians to pop stars with gleeful abandon. The fuse was lit when South Park aired a brutal episode satirizing the drama surrounding Rachel's modern take on Disney's original princess classic. Parker and Stone held nothing back. Their animated version of Rachel strutted through a fantasy kingdom with a smartphone like royal bling, firing off provocative takes on history, Hollywood power plays, and culture wars. Each scene pushed harder than the last, culminating in an outrageous musical number that mercilessly mocked big-budget remakes. While fans doubled over with laughter back in LA, the real Rachel wasn't amused. At first, insiders whispered she'd brush it off. Rachel's too smart for this. She knows how South Park operates.
The last time I had the dream, I was walking down the school hallway, and that's when I started to notice that something's wrong. Everyone I cared about has been systematically replaced. And finally, I want to scream, and I'm like, why are they replacing every single character with someone who is diverse?
No, make it more lame. That is exactly what they're doing. And that is why we hate the diversity, equity, and inclusion casting and writing in movies.
But that speculation evaporated when TMZ dropped the bombshell. Rachel Zegler files a $100 million lawsuit over South Park episode. Some thought it was just a scare tactic, perhaps angling for an apology or some public cleanup. Then her legal team arrived in force, papers filed, accusations flying. She claimed the episode didn't just joke. It systematically demolished her career image, portraying her as a spoiled, clueless star who single-handedly tanked a blockbuster.
One major development going on now involves more to do with Rachel Zegler and her attitude towards South Park Studios and Paramount after learning about what they are planning for their upcoming special called the DEI Special.
The lawsuit pulled no punches, directly accusing Parker and Stone of crossing the line from edgy parody to full-blown character assassination. Her legal team alleged the show essentially made Rachel the scapegoat for Snow White's commercial disappointments. They highlighted particularly inflammatory animated scenes where cartoon Rachel appeared to pocket production money with a sarcastic reference to budget snacks costing a casual $40 million. Rachel's representatives weren't laughing. They labeled it not merely unfair, but maliciously false.
Last time I had the dream, I was walking down the school hallway, and that's when I started to notice that something's wrong. Everyone I cared about has been systematically replaced. And finally, I want to scream, and I'm like, why are they replacing every single character with someone who is diverse?
No, make it more lame. That is exactly what they're doing. And that is why we hate the diversity, equity, and inclusion casting and writing in.
Our clients' rights are on the line, they declared emphatically. According to the lawsuit, job offers began vanishing immediately after the episode aired. One studio allegedly informed her team they were going to wait for things to cool off, all because of how negatively the cartoon portrayal had affected her public image. To Rachel's camp, this was definitive proof. This wasn't comedy. It was career sabotage with real financial consequences. News of the legal bombshell hit just as Parker and Stone were wrapping up a writers' meeting in Culver City. Staff members reported every phone buzzing simultaneously with push notifications from Variety and Deadline. The co-creators locked eyes, both visibly annoyed, yet subtly entertained. These veterans had weathered storms before, lawsuits from outraged religious groups,
and what they recently did toward both Zegler and the Disney company for their Snow White film. It turns out that both Trey Parker and Matt Stone are already preparing for the DEI special.
Takedown threats from powerful corporations, even protesters picketing outside Comedy Central's headquarters. But this, a single actor demanding 9 figures, represented uncharted territory. One writer cracked, "Guess we're finally worth $100 million each." Nervous laughter rippled through the room, thinly masking genuine concern. Beneath the bravado lurked a sobering reality. Times had dramatically changed since South Park first premiered in 1997. Back then, late-night cable allowed provocative satire to fly under the radar. Now, every joke explodes across the internet like wildfire, dissected and amplified to millions within seconds.
Snow White is the first American feature-length animated movie, 1937. It's one of the most beloved movies of all time.
If a court ruled their Snow White parody constituted defamation, the implications would extend far beyond financial penalties. It could fundamentally reshape their future, including that massive Paramount Plus deal reportedly worth nearly $1 billion for multiple spin-off films. Suddenly, their treasured nothing's off-limits ethos faced its most significant legal challenge yet. Public reaction split dramatically. Online, total chaos erupted. Those who viewed Rachel as a victim of relentless internet harassment rallied behind her, praising her lawsuit as a courageous stand against what they termed unchecked animation harassment. Meanwhile, others vehemently defended Trey and Matt as the last true champions of unfiltered comedy, rallying behind the trending hashtag "satire is not slander." Late-night hosts couldn't resist the drama, joking about the princess versus paper cutout war.
Everything worked perfectly. It would have been almost impossible for this movie to succeed because you're comparing it to one of the most beloved films of all time and a truly groundbreaking movie.
Cable news channels assembled panels of legal experts debating one provocative question: can a cartoon legitimately constitute defamation? Inside South Park headquarters, Parker and Stone retreated to a war room for strategy sessions that stretched deep into the night. Their instinctive response was to flip the entire situation into a new episode, their standard approach to controversy. They'd never hesitated to mock themselves, transforming scandals into storylines. But this time, their legal team firmly applied the brakes.
So, there's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Say it louder so your other eye can hear you.
Any joke now could potentially backfire, possibly interpreted as retaliation or even ammunition for additional legal claims. So in a rare strategic pivot, the duo famous for poking every bear in the entertainment forest chose temporary silence. Still, behind closed doors, creativity flourished. Sketch ideas materialized. A puppet trial where cartoon versions of themselves took the witness stand. A melodramatic ballad titled "Sue Me Gently." Even courtroom sketch art deliberately styled to look like a toddler's crayon drawings. But all these concepts remained shelved, awaiting the moment when legal restrictions loosened. While the creators maintained public silence, reports surfaced about Rachel's emotional state. Sources close to her described her alternating between fierce determination and complete exhaustion. She wasn't pursuing this solely for financial compensation. She saw it as sending a crucial message. I'm not some easy target.
Rights are on the line, folks.
The right to buy Cosby sweaters?
Come on.
That's the face
Go
of a
vote blue.
serial killer.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
Rachel felt that without pushback now, she risked becoming permanently defined as that joke in a dress with a phone, trapped in memes and punchlines forever. Critics dismissed her concerns as overreaction. Even Tom Cruise, Kanye, and the Queen got roasted worse. But supporters countered that those established icons had decades-long careers and massive fan bases insulating them from cartoon mockery. Rachel, still establishing herself, remained far more vulnerable to being typecast by a single viral moment. As the lawsuit progressed through Los Angeles courts, Parker and Stone finally broke their silence, not with a dramatic press conference, but with two carefully measured statements. We believe strongly in the right to parody public figures and public events. We look forward to a vigorous defense of that right. No provocations, no shots fired.
Look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely when it got announced.
He wasn't a stalker, by the way.
Thing that was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
But insiders revealed that the moment their legal team granted permission, they stood ready to transform this entire saga into their next comedy triumph. Legal experts identified the central question: where exactly lies the boundary between savage satire and defamation? Precedent typically protects comedy that no reasonable person would interpret literally, but this case walked a dangerous tightrope. In the controversial South Park episode, the animated Rachel performed an outlandish musical number, suggesting she rewrote iconic scenes purely to maximize her paycheck. Fans might dismiss this as obvious parody, but Rachel's attorneys weren't amused. They argued not every viewer possessed sufficient media literacy to recognize the satire, presenting evidence of actual social media posts from individuals convinced Rachel had genuinely hijacked the production. Her legal team contended this proved the cartoon didn't merely entertain, it distorted reality in damaging ways. Parker and Stone's defense countered forcefully, presenting extensive online posts and memes where fans clearly recognized the episode's absurd hyperbole. Their message: no reasonable person could possibly take this seriously. The entire premise was deliberately ridiculous. Just when the legal drama couldn't get more complicated, another powerful player entered the picture: Disney. Though not officially named in the lawsuit, sources indicated the entertainment giant was monitoring developments with growing concern. Disney executives reportedly feared court proceedings might expose internal communications about production decisions, particularly regarding Snow White's budget challenges. If subpoenas began demanding production notes or email chains mentioning Parker and Stone's parody, Disney's legal department stood ready to intervene aggressively. Meanwhile, the court established a trial date for early the following year, giving both sides ample preparation time. However, the timing raised strategic complications. If Rachel secured new acting roles, the lawsuit could resurface during promotional tours and red carpet events. For South Park, the schedule coincided with planning their next season, potentially setting the stage for an on-air response once legal restrictions eased. Entertainment lawyers speculated the mounting chaos might eventually push both parties toward a confidential settlement, but Parker and Stone remained firm. Settling, they argued, would establish a dangerous precedent, inviting litigation from any celebrity offended by satirical treatment. Trey reportedly told a colleague, "If we pay up now, the next joke dies before we even write it." This stance galvanized free speech advocates, including the ACLU, which submitted an amicus brief supporting the creators. Their message was unequivocal. Satire serves an essential function, holding powerful figures accountable. They warned that major studios meticulously craft idealized images for their stars, and if comedy cannot challenge these manufactured personas, the public loses a vital truth-telling mechanism. Rachel's team pivoted strategically, reframing their narrative. Rather than directly attacking free speech principles, they emphasized a different message. This wasn't about destroying comedy. This was about one individual standing firm when humor became personal attack. A young performer thrust unexpectedly into the spotlight, ridiculed for months, then caricatured before millions. Rachel made a carefully planned appearance on a mainstream talk show, not one known for edgy humor, and spoke with emotional authenticity. Tearful yet composed, she expressed respect for satire generally while drawing a clear distinction when it veered into reckless distortion, capable of destroying someone's livelihood. Her vulnerable honesty generated fresh headlines portraying her as courageous, though just as many publications labeled her overly sensitive. Online discourse deteriorated into all-out warfare with hashtags like #TeamRachel and #TeamSouthPark, trading increasingly bitter memes, video edits, and inflammatory takes. Social media transformed into a battleground where every post either mockingly dismissed or passionately defended her. No middle ground existed. Voices advocating nuance vanished beneath an avalanche of trolling and outrage. Some fans created side-by-side comparisons of South Park's other targets, politicians, celebrities, religious figures, arguing Rachel actually received relatively gentle treatment. Others responded with detailed analyses, explaining how toxic media portrayals disproportionately damage emerging careers, from lost endorsement opportunities to canceled auditions. By the time the court scheduled preliminary hearings, the situation had reached boiling point. Factual discussion had given way to pure emotion, outrage, tribalism, and performative anger. The hearing itself became a spectacle. Journalists packed the courtroom seeking drama. Parker and Stone arrived wearing conservative suits but couldn't resist subtle provocations. Matt sporting a tie decorated with tiny cartoon paper cutouts, Trey wearing cufflinks shaped like miniature television sets. Rachel entered separately, flanked by attorneys, dressed in a professional navy blazer projecting serious determination. Cameras captured a fleeting glance she directed toward the creators, its meaning impossible to decipher. Perhaps anger, anxiety, or even quiet hope for resolution. Rachel's testimony proved equally compelling. With steady voice and raw emotion, she described waking to social media flooded with South Park clips, each accompanied by vicious commentary questioning her professionalism. She detailed escalating anxiety, canceled auditions, and the devastating fear of being permanently labeled difficult before her career fully launched. After 3 days of intense deliberation, the verdict arrived, not liable. Parker and Stone were cleared completely. The jury forewoman explained their reasoning. While sympathizing with Rachel's distress, they concluded the episode's wildly exaggerated style made it impossible to interpret as factual attack. It was, by their assessment, unmistakably parody. Comedy Central executives exhaled collectively in relief, while commentators erupted across media platforms. Outside the courthouse, Rachel displayed remarkable grace in defeat. She thanked supporters and pledged to continue advocating for respectful creative expression. Though visibly disappointed, she remained resolute, emphasizing her fight transcended personal concerns. It represented any performer attempting to protect their professional reputation in an industry where humor sometimes inflicts lasting damage. Parker and Stone appeared briefly flanked by attorneys, offering only a terse statement. "We're going back to work." No celebration, no gloating. They seemed to recognize that even in victory, this wasn't truly resolved. The trial had initiated serious conversations about comedy's ethical boundaries. In subsequent weeks, both parties moved forward. Rachel's independent film received positive critical reception, with reviewers praising her nuanced performance and emotional depth. Her fan base remained steadfast. South Park returned with characteristic boldness. Their season premiere opened with an ironic dedication. "To anyone who's ever wanted to sue us, thanks for watching." Ratings soared, but something subtle had shifted. The humor retained its edge but displayed newfound self-awareness, as if acknowledging even satire carries consequences. Throughout entertainment and legal circles, the trial became an instant case study. Law schools incorporated it into curricula. Media ethics panels dissected every aspect. Legal commentators hailed the verdict as free speech victory, while PR specialists noted the reputational costs all parties incurred. For Rachel, the ordeal established clear professional boundaries and earned quiet respect from colleagues who admired her willingness to challenge entertainment giants. For Parker and Stone, their brand of fearless comedy survived intact, perhaps with slightly heightened awareness of its impact when the laughter subsides. The courtroom confrontation crystallized an essential truth. South Park's bold, unfiltered approach still wields tremendous cultural influence, but in today's interconnected world, that power carries real responsibility they can no longer simply dismiss. What transpired wasn't merely headline fodder, it marked a genuine cultural inflection point. A single animated episode escalated into multi-million-dollar litigation, forcing the entire industry to reconsider the delicate balance between creative freedom and personal reputation. Both sides emerged with battle scars and valuable lessons. Rachel walked away stronger, increasingly recognized as a serious artist who defended her principles when satirical spotlight turned harsh. Meanwhile, South Park demonstrated resilience, while perhaps recognizing that even the most hilarious joke can inflict genuine harm without careful consideration. The laughter continues, but now carries greater awareness behind each punchline. Eventually, memories will fade. Perhaps years hence, this case will survive only in legal textbooks or as a documentary titled The Princess versus the Paper Cutouts. But for those who experienced it directly, the impact remains profound, raw, consequential, transformative. This saga ultimately proved one fundamental truth. Creativity and criticism aren't adversaries but symbiotic forces within the same ecosystem, constantly challenging, frequently colliding, forever reshaping our cultural landscape together. If you appreciated this analysis, please like, subscribe, and share with your community. We welcome your perspective. Was this legitimate free speech, or did it cross ethical lines? Share your thoughts in the comments, and join us next time as we continue exploring entertainment's most fascinating controversies. The landscape only grows more complex from here.